Welcome to DVC 101, the series that covers everything you need to know before and after joining Disney Vacation Club. My name's Robert, and my wife and I lived in the Walt Disney World resorts for an entire year, and we have stayed in each different villa at every single Disney Vacation Club resort on the East Coast. In today's video, we're going to be taking a high-level look at Disney Vacation Club, what it is, and how it works. If you'd like in-depth information on any of these individual topics that we cover, we do have videos over in our playlist on the channel covering each of those things, and you can also find them at dvc101.com. So the first question is, what is Disney Vacation Club, or DVC as I'll be referring to it throughout this series? Disney Vacation Club is a vacation ownership program where you purchase a deeded real estate interest in one of the Disney Vacation Club resorts. That's a very complex way of saying it's a timeshare. It is Disney's version of a timeshare, and it has a few unique ways that it operates compared to a traditional timeshare, but ultimately still a timeshare. Now, since it is a deeded real estate interest that you are purchasing, it can be treated like many other types of real estate. It can be bought, it can be sold, it can be given away, it can be willed, you can own it with a trust or with an LLC or a corporation. Lots of different options for it because it is technically a piece of real estate. Now, when you purchase, you do sign a contract that has all the details you need to know inside of it. There's a few important things in there that you need to be aware of and understand what they mean and how they work. So the first thing you need to be aware of in your contract is your home resort. Your home resort is basically the resort where you are purchasing. So if you were to purchase a contract at Disney's Riviera Resort, that's their newest resort and the one we're going to use for all of our examples today. When you purchase that contract at Riviera Resort, that is your home resort for the duration of your contract. Home resorts can't be changed because, again, part of the contract. If you wanted to change your home resort, the only way to do that is to sell your entire contract and then purchase another one at the resort you'd like to be your new home resort. Also included in the contract is an expiration date. This is a piece of real estate that you are purchasing. However, it is not yours in perpetuity. You cannot pass this down to your great-great-great-great-grandkids so that they own a small piece of a Disney resort. Doesn't quite work that way. These contracts expire on a set date that is determined based on the home resort. So some home resorts will expire sooner than others because they opened sooner than the others. Again, in our example, we're using Disney's Riviera Resort, which opened in December of 2019. All of the contracts at Disney's Riviera Resort will expire on the exact same day, January 31st of 2070. Now, if you were to purchase at a different resort, such as Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary, those contracts will expire January 31st of 2060. So you may be able to find a contract from Disney's Bay Lake Tower Resort for less money than you would pay for Disney's Riviera Resort, but you also have 10 less years on your contract. So it's important that you factor in the expiration when you're deciding where you'd like to purchase your contract with Disney Vacation Club. Lots of people would like to know what exactly is going to happen when we reach that expiration date for those contracts, and the short answer is nobody really knows yet. We haven't come up to any of those resort expiration dates yet. So until we do, Disney has not made anything known as far as what they're going to do for that. So all we know is our contracts will expire on the date listed in the contract. The next important thing you need to look at in your contract is the use year. Think of your use year like a business's fiscal year. It may not line up exactly with a calendar year, but it is an annual resetting of your account. Every year throughout the duration of your contract, you are going to receive an allotment of vacation points. Now, we're going to cover vacation points in just a minute, so don't get too far ahead. But when you receive that allotment of vacation points, totally depends on your use year. If you have a June use year, you'll receive your 2021 allotment of points on June 1st, 2021, and they will expire 12 months later on May 31st, 2022. If those points are not used between June 1st, 2021 and May 31st, 2022, they will expire and they have no value whatsoever. Now, there are a few rules about banking and borrowing points that allow you to save some of those points up if you're not going to use them. Again, we're going to cover that in just a couple minutes with the vacation points segment. Depending on how you plan to use your DVC membership, your use year can be a really important factor to consider, and we do have an entire video on that. I highly recommend watching it before you choose a use year. And the last part of your contract we want to cover are the vacation points. We've already referenced them a couple times. Your vacation points are the representation of your ownership interest in your home resort. Legally speaking, you may own 0.0547% of Unit 3B at Disney's Riviera Resort, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to booking a room at Disney's Riviera Resort. Instead, that ownership interest would entitle you to 100 vacation points every single year on the date of your use year. So instead of paying out of pocket for a hotel room every time we go to Walt Disney World or visit one of the other Disney properties, we can now use our 100 vacation points from our contract to book rooms at any of the DVC resorts. Now, how many points those rooms will cost us varies depending on a few factors. One of them is the resort. Certain resorts have rooms that are less expensive than others. Another is the size of the room. A studio that sleeps 4 or 5 people is going to be less points than a 3-bedroom grand villa. And you also have seasonality that factors into your point cost as well. If you go in the middle of September, it will cost you less points than if you go between Christmas and New Year's. The more popular the time of year is, the higher the point cost for that room is going to be. And then within each resort, sometimes you will have different views and different categories for the same room type. For example, at Animal Kingdom Villas, you have a standard view room and a Savannah view room. The Savannah view rooms will cost you more points than a standard view room because you have a beautiful view of the animals out there on the Savannah right outside your room. Now, for our example today, we are assuming we bought a 100-point contract at Disney's Riviera Resort with a June use year directly from Disney. Again, this is a deeded real estate interest, so we can buy and sell it between individuals and not just directly from Disney. So we could purchase a contract from another member, but for the sake of simplicity in this video, we're not going to get into the direct versus resale purchasing. We will cover that in another video, and I'll link it down in the description below if you're interested in that. Now, since we bought this contract directly from Disney, we are eligible to use all of our vacation points at any of the DVC resorts, not just our home resort. So if we wanted to book at Bay Lake Tower or Polynesian Villas or Animal Kingdom Villas, we can book at any of those resorts once we are 7 months out. Anything farther than 7 months out, we will not be able to book at the other DVC resorts. However, at our home resort, we have home resort booking priority. We can book at our home resort up to 11 months in advance. So what many people will do if they're going during a busy time of year is they will book their home resort for their vacation 11 months in advance to guarantee they have a room when they go on vacation. But let's say we don't want to stay at Riviera Resort this year. We really want to stay at the villas at the Grand Floridian. That's okay. We can wait until the 7-month window opens up. And as soon as we hit 7 months from our vacation, we can change our booking to book at the villas at the Grand Floridian, provided there is availability for the room type we're trying to book. Vacation points are one of the main reasons that Disney Vacation Club is such a flexible timeshare, and I personally love the flexibility that comes along with it. The next thing to know about vacation points is that they can be banked and they can also be borrowed. Again, we own 100 points at Disney's Riviera Resort with a June use year. So June 1st, we're going to receive 100 points every single year until our contract expires. Let's say it is June 1st of 2021 and we've just received our 100 point allotment that will expire May 31st of 2022. We know that we are not going to vacation and use those vacation points at any point before May 31st of 2022. Instead of letting those expire, we can actually bank all of those points to the next use year. So when we bank those points, they're no longer valid from June 1st, 2021 to May 31st, 2022, but they are instead valid from June 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023. We have essentially moved them from this year into next year. Now, you cannot bank more than 1 year into the future, so those points will definitively expire on May 31st, 2023 if they're not used. There's no way to continue banking them and snowballing them until you have a huge amount of points and then you go and live at Walt Disney World for an entire year. Banking is a final transaction and cannot be undone, so keep that in mind before you bank those points. Also, you do have a deadline for banking your points. It is 8 months from your use year's start date. So again, our June example, our deadline to bank our 2021 points is going to be January 31st of 2022. 4 months before they expire, we have to make the decision, are we going to use them or are we going to bank them? You can also borrow points from a future use year. So let's say we did not bank those points, we have them 100 points in June 2021, and we decided we want to go on a bigger vacation this year. Maybe we want to stay at a different resort, or we want to stay longer, or in a larger villa. That's totally fine. We can use our 100 points from this use year, and we can borrow points from next use year, June 2022. So we would take 50 points from June 2022, borrow them into this current use year, which again is a final transaction just like banking, and now we have 150 points that we can use between June 1st, 2021 and May 31st, 2022. Now that does mean that on June 1st, 2022, we only receive 50 vacation points instead of the usual 100, so keep that in mind. If you're borrowing points, you're going to receive less when you hit your new use year. Also, something worth noting, Disney Vacation Club for the first time in its history has limited borrowing due to the recent pandemic. You can only borrow up to 50% of your future use years when you're making reservations. You cannot borrow above that 50% limit. That is a temporary restriction, and they do plan to go back to full 100% borrowing being allowed once things go back to normal. Vacation points are the core of what you're getting when you buy into Disney Vacation Club, so it's important that you fully understand them, and we do have a video that goes a little bit more in depth than we did today, and of course that's linked down below and it's in the playlist of DVC 101 as well. One other thing worth mentioning about vacation points is the option of a guaranteed week. We're not going to go too in depth on it here, but basically the guaranteed week works very similarly to old school timeshares where you purchase a specific week, let's say week number 52 of the year, every single year. So instead of just having 100 points that we can use, we would have a guaranteed booking at Disney's Riviera Resort for 7 nights on week 52 every single year of our contract. You do have to pay a little bit more for that, and it is still very flexible because if you choose not to use your guaranteed week that year, you still have vacation points that you can turn around and use at other times of the year or at other resorts. So now that we've covered what Disney Vacation Club is and a little bit of how it works, you're probably wondering how much it's going to cost. And the answer is, it depends. There are 3 things to consider when trying to determine your overall cost of ownership for Disney Vacation Club. The first one is your purchase price, the second is your closing costs, and the third is your annual dues. Your purchase price is going to be how much you pay for the initial contract. This is a one-time purchase. There is no ongoing cost associated with your price per point. This will vary based on the resort that you have for your home resort and whether you purchase it directly from Disney or resale from another owner. In our example today, we bought directly from Disney at Disney's Riviera Resort for 100 points, and the current price of that is $201 a point. So we would pay $20,100 for 100 points. The second factor is going to be closing costs. Again, this is a real estate transaction, so you will have closing costs associated with it. Those will vary depending on, again, the resort that you're buying and also the number of points that you're buying. Generally, you can expect for our $100 contract to cost us somewhere around $600 or $700 probably in closing costs, and of course, those are also a one-time cost. The third factor, and the big one that many people don't consider, is your annual dues. Annual dues are what vacation club members pay for the maintenance, operational costs, and property taxes of their home resort. So all of those costs for the resort are bundled together and then split amongst all the different owners based on the number of points they own. At Disney's Riviera Resort, the current annual dues cost is $8.38 per point. This means that this year I will pay $838 for the dues on my 100 points that I own at Riviera Resort. Those dues are due at the beginning of the year, but you are allowed to make monthly payments on them via direct draft if you would like. Now, your dues will very likely increase every single year that you own your contract. Historically, they've increased somewhere between 3 and 4% at most of the resorts, and it's likely that's going to continue until those contracts expire. Now, they do cap that in your contract to make sure you can never exceed a 15% increase year over year for the operating costs. Of course, taxes have to be paid regardless, so there is no cap on how much taxes will cost you. But again, the average has been 3 to 4%, so I like to factor in a 5% increase in dues on average year over year, just to play it safe when I'm looking at the overall cost of owning a vacation club contract. One more factor to consider in the cost that we didn't mention earlier is if you are financing your purchase of your Disney Vacation Club contract. I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. However, math will show you that when you purchase your Disney Vacation Club contract using cash, you will pay much less because you don't have any interest accrued when you pay cash versus financing. So if you choose to finance your contract, that is totally up to you, but make sure you're factoring in the cost of the interest for the duration of your financing period. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about here because it does get brought up a lot, and that is the perks of DVC membership. Now again, we're basing this on purchasing directly from Disney instead of purchasing resale from another owner, and the perks do vary based on where you purchase your contract. You do get a lot more when you purchase directly from Disney versus buying from a third party. However, the perks are not a guaranteed part of your contract. They are subject to change at any time. That being said, there are some pretty great perks from time to time for qualifying memberships. Things like discounts on annual passes, special member-only events, access to an exclusive members lounge inside Epcot up above Journey into Imagination, and several other things that are only available to those who have the official blue membership card that comes with a purchase directly from Disney. We'll get into those perks in another video in this series, but you shouldn't be factoring in the perks when it comes to deciding whether or not you should purchase Disney Vacation Club, because again, those are not a part of your contract. You just have to look at them for what they are, which is really great perks. We have covered a lot of information in today's video about Disney Vacation Club, how it works, how much it costs, and there is so much more to talk about. So make sure you head over to our channel and check out the DVC 101 playlist for more in-depth information about some of the topics we covered here today. If the video was helpful to you, please hit the like button down below and leave a comment letting me know. And if you have additional questions, put those in the comments as well. You might just see your question answered in a future video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and whether you're a longtime DVC member or you're new to the DVC family, welcome home.